Welcome to your daily dose of hope. I'm Phyllis Nichols, and I'm glad you're here. I've talked before about curiosity, but I think it's worth revisiting because sometimes I think, we stopped asking questions. We've stopped looking at things in new ways. I remember when we were kids, my mom used to get so frustrated, right? Because we just asked tons and tons of questions and we kept going and why this and why that and how this and but somewhere along the way, we kind of traded off our curiosity, right, for certainty. And certainly when we learn more things, we know more things. Maybe we don't need to ask quite as many questions. But I think sometimes too, we start believing that we should already know the answer to everything. And when you think about that, that's just not realistic, right? We can't possibly have the answers for everything or know everything. Sometimes maybe it's about worrying about looking inexperienced or asking the wrong questions. But, curiosity is where learning begins and it's where creativity lives. We can't see things in a different way. We can't try something in a new way if we're not at least curious about what the opportunities are, what the options might be. When we stay curious, we're open to those possibilities and we learn something instead of assuming that we already know how things are going to turn out or assuming in advance, right? Something's not going to work or because we've not even been willing to ask the questions. So instead of saying that's not going to work, or I don't know, I'm never going to be able to figure this out, maybe just ask yourself, what if it could? What if I could find out more about this? Instead of deciding somebody's difficult, maybe be curious about what they might be carrying or what might be happening in their life. Curiosity doesn't require a ton of confidence. It just requires us to be willing to explore. None of us have all the answers. Sometimes asking a better question is the first step to finding them. This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, Women's Voices Amplified.